Okay, take two. I'm taking two. So, hello everyone, and I apologize for being so, how do you put it, absent. I've uploaded, let me see when I uploaded last. I last uploaded 11 days ago. A- And basically, that is because I've been mainly streaming on stuff, and I have some bad news. The streaming will have to stop for a while because of things going on with the internet at my place. Not enough bandwidth. So instead, I'll be doing uploads, and I'm gonna try different things. One of which is reading stories. So today, there's one that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently for various reasons that I won't go into. Um, and it was published about 10 years ago in a collection called Tales of Beetle the Bard, and by one J.K. Rowling, who her work I have a love-hate relationship with. I love her original works, but she's gotten, well, we'll talk about it later after I'm done with the story. I'll do that first. Um, so without further ado, this is the Warlock's Hairy Heart. There was once a handsome, rich, and talented young warlock who observed that his friends grew foolish when they fell in love, gamboling, preening, losing their appetites and their dignity. The young warlock resolved never to fall prey to such weaknesses, and deployed the dark arts to ensure his immunity. Unaware of his secret, the warlock's family laughed to see him so aloof and so cold. All will change, they prophesied, when the maid catches his fancy. But the young warlock's fancy remained untouched, though many a maiden was intrigued by his haughty mien, and employed her most subtle arts to please him. None succeeded in touching his heart. The young warlock gloried in his indifference, and sagacity that had produced it. The first freshness of his youth waned, and the warlock's peers began to wed, and then to bring forth children. Their hearts must be husks, he sneered inwardly, as he observed the antics of the young parents around him, shriveled by the demands of the mewing offspring. And once again he congratulated himself upon the wisdom of his early choice. In due course, the warlock the warlock's aged parents died. Their son did not mourn them. On the contrary, he considered himself blessed by their demise. Now he reigned alone in their castle, having transferred his greatest possessions and his greatest treasure into the deepest dungeon. He gave himself over to a life of ease and plenty, his comfort the only aim of his many servants. The warlock was sure that he must be an object of immense envy to all who beheld his splendor and untroubled solitude. Fierce was his anger and chagrin, therefore, when he overheard two of his lackeys discussing their master one day. The first servant expressed pity for the warlock, who, with all his wealth and power, was yet beloved by nobody. But his companion jeered, asking why a man with so much gold and a palatial castle to his name had been unable to attract a wife. Their words dealt blows to the listening warlock's pride. He resolved at once to take a wife, and that she would be a wife superior to all others. She would possess astounding beauty, exciting envy and desire in every man who beheld her. She would spring from magical lineage, so that their offspring would inherit outstanding magical gifts, and she would have wealth at least equal to his own, so that his comfortable existence would be assured, in spite of additions to the household. It might have taken the warlock 50 years to find such a woman. Yet it so happened that very day that after he decided to seek her, a maiden answering his every wish arrived in his neighborhood to visit her kinsfolk. She was a witch of prodigious skill, possessed of much gold. Her beauty was such that it tugged at the heart of every man who set his eyes on her. Of every man, that is, except one. The warlock's heart felt nothing at all. Nevertheless, she was the prize he sought, and so he began to pay her court. All who noticed the warlock's change in manners were amazed, and told the maiden that she had succeeded where 100 had failed. The young woman herself, uh, the young woman herself was both fascinated by and repelled by the warlock's attentions. She sensed a coldness that lay behind the warmth of his flattery, and had never met a man so strange and remote. Her kinsfolk, however, deemed theirs a most suitable match, and, eager to promote it, a- accepted the warlock's invitation to a great feast in the maiden's honor. The table was laden with silver and gold, bearing the finest of wines, and the most sumptuous foods. Minstrels strummed on the silk-stringed lutes, and sang of a love their master had never felt. The maiden sat on a throne beside the warlock, who spake low, employing words of tenderness that he had stolen from the poets, without any idea of their true meaning. The maiden listened, puzzled, and finally replied, "You speak well, warlock, and I would be delighted by your intentions, only if I thought you had a heart." The warlock smiled and told her that she need not fear on that score, bidding her to follow. He led her from the feast and down to the locked dungeon where he kept his greatest treasure. Here, in an enchanted crystal casket, was the warlock's beating heart. A dis- long since disconnected from his eyes, ears, and fingers, it had never fallen prey to beauty or a whimsical voice, to feel of silken skin. The maiden was terrified by the sight of it, for the heart was shrunken and covered in long black hair. "Oh, what have you done?" she lamented. "Put that thing back where it belongs, I beseech you." Seeing that it was necessary to please her, the warlock drew his wand, unlocked the crystal casket, and opened his own breast, and replaced the hairy heart in the empty cavity, and once again it was occupied. Now you are healed, and I will show you true love, cried the maiden, and embraced him. The touch of her soft white arms, and the sound of her breath on his ear, and the scent of her heavy gold hair all pierced the newly awakened heart like spears. But it had grown strange concerning during its long exile, blind and savage in the darkness to which it had been condemned, and its appetites had grown powerful and perverse. The guests at the feast had noticed the absence of their host and the maiden. At first, untroubled, they grew anxious as the hours passed, and finally began to search the castle and found the dungeon at last. The most dreadful sight awaited them there. The maiden lay upon the floor dead, her breast cut open, and beside her crouched the mad warlock, holding in one bloody hand a great, smooth, shining scarlet heart which he had licked and stroked, vowing to exchange it for his own. In his other hand, trying to coax In his other hand he held his wand, trying to coax it from his own chest, the shriveled, hairy heart. But the hairy heart was stronger than he was, and refused to relinquish its hold upon his senses, or to return to the coffin in which it had been locked for so long. Before the horror-struck eyes of the guests, the warlock cast aside his wand and seized a silver dagger, vowing never to be mastered by his own heart. He hacked it from his chest. For one moment the warlock knelt triumphant, with a heart clutched in each hand, and then he fell across the maiden's body and died. Okay, that was a little bit rough, but it's a first try, and I'm hoping that you enjoy it. But let's talk about it. We're not just gonna read the story, we're gonna discuss it. And what I'm really hoping to do is start this in a series, and I'm gonna read different things and talk about what is good about it, what is not. Um, First off, I know this is supposed to be short stories, and part of what really sold it was the fact that Harry Potter, it was supposed to be the book that guided Harry Potter and his friends to actually the information that Voldemort, um, it was going to kill him. That's what the Tale of the Three Brothers is supposed to be all about. By the way, if you want to hear a rendition of that, great. Just let me know down in the comments below. Um, like I said, I'm trying a bunch of different stuff. Um, will there be artwork in the future? If y'all like this series, maybe, maybe. I can't do artwork, but I know people that can, and I bet good money that I can probably scooch a little bit their way if I start making some bread. So that's uh, neither here nor there. We can kind of discuss that as we go. Um, but I just kind of wanted to do something at being close to Christmas, and like I said, we're going to talk about it. Um, Obviously, the first mistake that the warlock made was removing his heart, according to the story. And I can probably see where he got the idea. You know, he sees so many people falling in love, and he probably saw people fall in love and it didn't work out. You know, that's something that I would have liked to have seen described. Probably saw somebody fall in love and just get their heart broken. That happens all the time. Uh, but the idea of being repulsed by love so much so the perfect outcome of love, no less. That's supposed to be the perfect outcome is guy marries a girl. He goes and produces a family with her. That to me, that that's not disgusting. That's the ideal scenario. I would love to do that eventually. Um, Hopefully that happens at some point in time in my life. I don't know. Um, but you know, for a lot of guys I know, that's the dream, and some of them haven't done it yet. I would rather have seen me personally, him see one of his best friends maybe, or even at one point himself have unrequited love and get so torn up that he decides, you know what, it would be better not to have a heart at all, and just try to rip it from his chest and actually succeed as a warlock or a wizard or whatever you want to call it. But that's just me. That's where I fall on this. That's I think the biggest problem with the story. And another thing is, okay, he doesn't have a heart, but he can still feel pride. Why? I get I'm poking fun at what's supposed to be essentially a kid's fairy tale. By the way, J.K. Rowling on the kids fairy tale thing, I will say well done in trying to teach kids vocabulary. I think that's something that is not done very much. In fact, I feel like storytelling and TV shows often try to dumb down for kids and for an audience. I would rather you teach the kids about educational topics. And when I say educational topics, I think we go too far in trying to educate kids um, in certain ideologies. I won't go into that here. I don't want this to turn into a big giant rant. Um, we're literally talking about the story, and that's what we're going to stick to. Um, and the thing about it is, ambition as well is part of the heart. It's a part of the heart that can be very easily felt. I have ambition to one day um, be successful enough that I can work from home and do everything I need to from home. And the only time I actually go out is when I want to go out and I want to meet people and I want to talk and I want to actually have discussions with folks and make friends and all kinds of different cool stuff. You know, the cool stuff that everybody gets to do on their time off. But I can just do it whenever I feel like I want to do it. Um, that's on my heart. I also have a heart that I want to tell stories and I want to build things that make this country better. Um, Private institutions that make this country better. And I want to do all that and I want to make this country and even this world a better place to live in. That's always been a driving heart for me. And I don't think you can have ambition and not have a heart. I feel like I get again that it is a short story, but at the same time, you gotta write the story in a way that makes sense. And that particular one does not make sense, even though this is one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite things about this book, which is again Tales of Beetle the Bard, um, by J.K. Rowling. You can actually go and buy it pretty much anywhere. I think you can buy it from Amazon and Barnes and Noble and pretty much any bookstore you can find. Um, Highly encourage it. Good little book. A lot of small stories. Good for an easy read. I read the first time I read this. I think I read it all in like 2 days. So yeah, definitely pick it up if you haven't. So when you again, I have to state for the sake of this video that streaming will end until we can improve the internet or I can move someplace with better internet. Instead, I will be recording everything that I can for my gameplay and for whatever else y'all say I should do. And we'll be talking back and forth and trying to figure out what works best. And hopefully, I'll be uploading another video for you guys soon. And I hope that y'all have a Merry Christmas. Maybe I'll upload something not tomorrow, but the day after, because Christmas is for family, you know. Um, and maybe not. Maybe it'll be the next week. I have quite a few other projects to finish though, so we'll see how that goes. I'm trying to balance like 20 different things. Uh, Also, I'm experimenting with some VR, so if I manage to get that going, um, please understand that will be few and far between as I'm still getting used to it. So, Merry Christmas, everyone, and I'll see you when I see you, okay? But it is currently Christmas Eve, and I just wanted to do a little something special. And this is it. Maybe next Christmas I'll do something like, I don't know, live reading of A Christmas Carol or something at like 8 or 9 o'clock, 6 perhaps, just something that y'all can tune into and listen. Um, if that's something y'all would be interested in, please let me know. Um, because I'm willing to do it if that's what y'all want to hear. uh, anyway, I'll let y'all go. Have a great one.